Okay, so hey guys, and welcome back to another weekly fighting roundup. In today's video, of course, got the boxing and MMA news. So if you're new around here and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Like video if you do indeed like video, and let's get straight into it. So starting off, of course, with the boxing news, and starting off, Zayas versus Sosa, Ryan versus Mayer, and Carrington versus Segawa will fight September 27th. I think that's an excellent card, to be completely honest. Zayas fighting, stepping up again, is going to be entertaining as well. He's got one of the biggest backings from Top Rank currently. But then Ryan versus Mayer is going to be a really interesting one because Ryan is on one of the best forms of her life at the moment. I think she is one of the best female fighters around currently, and I'm really excited to see her fight again. And obviously, she was calling out the likes of a Jonas or a Lauren Price, and them kind of names. She wasn't really calling out Mayer too much, but I think it's a fight that is going to make sense. It made sense that that boxer didn't really want to make Ryan versus one of their fighters, so I kind of expected this, but really nice to see her getting this American big stage fight, and yeah, it's going to be really entertaining to see because I fully believe she could win that one. And Carrington versus Segawa, also a really interesting fight because Segawa is coming off a nice victory himself. Moving on, and Nempart will fight September 27th. Catterall vs Prograis will fight October 26th. Baumgartner will fight Persoon September 27th, and Romero is set to fight James September 14th. His Excellency no longer wants Canelo versus Crawford, which was quite a big surprise, to be completely honest, because of the whole how big of a deal it was and how much it was being talked about in the build-up to the fight. This Canelo versus Crawford weight matchup and everything like that, and it seems as though Canelo doesn't really want to be working with His Excellency, so he's kind of just said he's uninterested in it. I don't know necessarily if it's got anything to do with Crawford's last performance or not, but as it seems, yeah, it seems like Canelo might not be with His Excellency fighting. I'm not too sure. Oscar De La Hoya had a lot to say about that, but no real surprise there. But it's going to be interesting to see where Crawford goes now. Obviously, he had his kind of heart stuck on that, so I'm sure it's going to be real kind of bitter pill to swallow if he can't have that Canelo fight. And His Excellency wants the Virgil Ortiz fight for him or the Ennis fight for him, but it seems as though Crawford wanted to fight Canelo a lot, so we'll have to wait and see financially what makes sense for him, which, to be fair, could be any of the fights with His Excellency. Boxer have partnered with Car Finance 24/7, DTG vs Minicom, Cornish vs Edwards, Williams vs Spencer, Hammond vs Clark, Dean vs Fogarty, Aarons vs Simpson, and Tikitoki vs Fensom will fight August 31st. KSI will perform at this August 31st event as well. He's performing, but he's the main event of a boxing event. It's weird. The IBF have ordered Zoo versus Metazaliev. I think that's a good fight and another title shot for Zoo. Harrington won a lightweight gold medal. She is two-time doing that now, which is, I think, a record. And I tried to mention as many of the fights I can that won gold, but I think I have missed a few. But yeah, she won gold. Estrada has activated his rematch clause versus Rodriguez, and the fight is likely for December. To be completely honest, I can see it pretty much just going out the same way in which he did the first time, but I'm not surprised Estrada, with the rematch clauses there, wanted to activate it, but it was surprising that there even was a rematch clause in the first place for that fight, to be completely honest. But yeah, December time. Vargas and Torres Jr. will fight September 20th. Keir Ziniak won gold medal in the 80 kg weight class. Alvarez won the lightweight gold medal. WBO have ordered Oscuga versus Gonzalez. Taraji is set to fight Rosales October 18th. Pierce will fight San Martin August 30th. Noakes vs Seglia. Abdullah vs Stewart. Liston Ali, Hickford, Fetty, Zach Martekesh, White and Isaacs will fight September 6th. Rojo has joined Matchroom. Benavidez is set to fight in December. Who he could be against, not really too sure, but set to be in December. I mean, realistically, I'm sure everybody would want the Morel fight as the main one. there isn't really many huge fights in that light heavyweight division available that could happen. So it's it might be somebody that nobody's really ever heard of and who's high up in the rankings. To be completely honest, that would not surprise me. Moving on, Shizora has called out Bellew. Will that happen? Probably not, but he's put it out there. Hearn has confirmed talks for another Queensberry West Matchroom 5v5 event, and hopefully we see that. But yeah, hopefully we see that. But at the same time, I want to see more 5v5s with different variations as well. So hopefully we'll see different varieties of them with other promoters, and I like the American versus England style one as well. So hopefully we'll keep seeing other kind of formats of it because it is a really good fun format. Hughes will fight September 27th. Top Tier has partnered with DAZN. Usyk has welcomed a Joshua trilogy. He basically said that it just kind of, if it makes sense, it makes sense really, and he wouldn't deny the opportunity because Joshua kind of put Usyk on that kind of fame pedestal and put all the eyes onto him and everything like that. So it would be what he deserves if he gets through, of course, the Dubois fight, and of course Usyk has to get through the Fury rematch. McGiven and Biswana have joined Queensberry. Dixon vs Harper, McGrail vs Foster, Verwong vs Hughes, Fisoli, Suleiman, Scott, Bab, and Murray will fight September 28th. I think that is a great card for some guys that I've had the pleasure of speaking to. Paul said he wants to compete in the 2028 Olympics. It seems like he's basically said he's fed up of seeing America not winning more medals in the boxing, so he'd like to compete in it. To be honest, it wouldn't surprise me if that actually does end up happening. It would probably put more eyes onto the Olympic boxing, so maybe I ain't against it, but he has to, of course, qualify. And I hope he has. If he does want to do it, he will have to qualify the same way that every other fighter qualifies. And like I say, that's what I want. Khalif has won a welterweight gold medal. A lot of controversy with all of that. I'm not really going to go into that whole thing too much, but a lot of controversies with it. It's a bit messy. I really think the Olympic governing body should come out and say something about it. Will they? I don't know, but we'll have to wait and see. But Khalif, I mean, she's done what she's been allowed to do, and so you can't really discredit her for doing it. It's just the Olympic Committee for allowing it to all happen and not really saying too much about it and things like that, which has probably caused more frustration from fans than anything. But she won in the end, and it's going to be interesting to see if she's going to turn into the pro ranks or what with next steps for her. Mikhailian will fight Rosicky September 28th. Jalolov won super heavyweight gold medal. That is back-to-back Olympics in which he won it, and that's excellent. I mean, what a talent. I think he really can go far in the heavyweight scene, and really interested into where he can go. Obviously, with Top Rank, he's progressing as a pro well already, and hopefully he gets more big pro fights now that his mind isn't really kind of on the Olympics. Now he's achieved what he's achieved. Moving on, Creason won by split decision vs Wickstrom. Iriarte won by TK round 1 vs Ortiz. Conwell won by KO round 2 vs Gray. Sims Jr. won by stoppage round 5 vs Romero. Priest won by unanimous decision vs Lozo. Bracas won by unanimous decision vs Cornejo to become WBC interim World Super Welterweight Champion. Fandora won by unanimous decision vs Asensio to remain IBF World Flyweight Champion. Ortiz Jr. won by majority decision vs Pahachuk to remain WBC interim World Super Welterweight Champion, and it's a little bit annoying with Golden Boy. A lot of the time, I don't always get my chance to watch the fights live, and a lot of the undercard doesn't normally get kind of shown and anything like that, and the women's fights especially don't really get their fights shown as much as what I think they should do because they are great fights. A lot of them. Brackhouse going and getting a really nice win was really impressive from what I've heard. Getting a stoppage to go on to get a win in the age in which she's at and everything like that. Full credit to her. The career that she has been amazing, and I got my prediction wrong for that one. I'll put my hands up and admit that. The Fandora one, she seems to be excellently progressing as well now, and I think Golden Boy have a really good talent in her, but I just don't necessarily know if they're going to give her the right opportunities, and I would love her to really go out there and chase these big fights at the moment. but another big win for her. Ortiz Jr., that fight was an excellent fight versus Bohachuk. Pretty much everybody was saying that it was going to be a fight of the year contender, and it definitely was. It was high intensity, high volume, Bohachuk just being so tough, being hurt multiple times, but then also dropping Ortiz multiple times at the same time. That's pretty much what you are saying if you want a fight of the year contender. But at the same time, I think Bohachuk's going to get more big opportunities and things like that, but Ortiz Jr., I think he did enough to deserve the win. I think he had the better boxing out of the two. I think he was landing cleaner a lot, or even in general, just putting more aggressive work in. Bohachuk did just cover up a lot of the time and accept punishment. I think his jab was really good when he used it, Bohachuk, but he just didn't necessarily use it as much. But Ortiz Jr. has shown weaknesses in his game. Bohachuk, I did kind of expect him to do that. I don't think it would be quite as dramatic as what it was, but Bohachuk, fair play to him, full credit to him, and yeah, Ortiz Jr. is going to be really interesting to see how he progresses now. Like I said, it seems like the Crawford fight could be made next with His Excellency, because Golden Boy are working with them now, and so big fights might actually be happening from for Golden Boy fighters. But that was a really interesting fight and entertaining one, and Ortiz Jr. yet again showing his aggression, which is often the case from him because he does, whenever he does get caught, like I said in my prediction, he's always going to want to respond back with multiple shots, and him getting dropped kind of seemed to fuel the fire even more for him to really want to push forwards, and that's what he did in the end. Moving on, Navarro won by KO in round 1 versus Camacho. Gonzalez won by TK round 3 versus Alcaya. Griego won by unanimous decision versus Mendoza. Garcia won by TK round 3 versus Villagrana. Hegai won by stoppage in round 9 versus Preciado. Melnicki Jr. won by disqualification in round 2 versus Toff. Delgado won by decision versus Flores to become WBO Latino Super Lightweight Champion. Leal won by KO in round 10 versus Lopez to become IBF World Featherweight Champion. And to speak a bit about that card as well, a couple of fights. Melnicki Jr. was a good performance from him versus Toff. I mean, a dominating fight, to be completely honest, where he was loading a lot of big shots, and Toff's coach obviously just didn't want him to carry on and continue, which I don't really blame him because he was taking a lot of punishment. Delgado, that split decision was an interesting one. I thought Delgado would be able to use his boxing ability to be able to maybe keep a little bit of a distance and see shots come in, because Flores was going to let his hands go, but I never thought it'd be that clean. And it wasn't really that clean when he did let his hands go, but it seemed to work because Delgado was just being so front foot, not really being wanting to take a back foot. He let off the cleaner work, the better work, Delgado, which I thought, but I think he could have made that fight easier for himself if he wanted to. But obviously he didn't. Split decision in the end, I think, is probably fair. I think that would have been fair. Maybe it could have been a draw. But I mean, I would love to see the rematch for that. Does it slow down the progression of Delgado? I believe so. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see how he progresses now after that. And then the Leal Lopez fight. Wow, that shot was crazy. I got my prediction wrong for it, and yeah, Leal, that was a huge shot. I mean, everybody's always talked about Lopez's fundamentals not really being there, and him just coming forward and not really caring about what's going to come back at him, and it caught him out. In the end, it caught him out, and Leal was looking good. He was being aggressive. He was matching Lopez's high intensity and being in his face, and not really letting Lopez get comfortable and get confident and things like that, which you kind of have to do against a guy like Lopez, who is kind of explosive and wanting to come onto the front foot and things like that, and wanting to have his own way. And when he landed that shot, I mean, he's not really known for being an incredibly powerful puncher, Leal, and that was just perfect timing. And like I say, Lopez just coming in with his guard low, and you can't just be doing that. And it showed, and eventually it's caught up to him, and that was a big defeat for him. I don't necessarily know where we'll see both of them go now, but Leal's put himself in the mix and made himself a name for himself. So full credit to him. Moving on, Gotti won by TK round 3 versus Fields. Anderson won by TK round 3 versus Davis. Craig won by split decision versus Musa. Yudigang won by unanimous decision versus King. Ingram won by unanimous decision versus Schwartzberg. Taylor won by TK round 2 versus Eriksson. Bruckner won by TK round 2 versus Temper. And to speak a bit more about that card, predictions wise, Gotti, I believe I got that wrong versus Fields. It was a messy fight as expected. Two big glove punches. The gloves are massive. But yeah, in the end, a stoppage victory for Gotti, and yeah, it was one of them fights. Anderson looked excellent with his, and like I say, it's interesting to see Misfits picking up actual boxers and them turning pro with Misfits. I'm not too sure really what's going to happen with Anderson, how he's going to want to progress. I'm sure Misfits will give him money, but at the same time, is they going to give him the best opportunities, and who will even fight with Misfits, because he hasn't really got a huge platform. So yeah, it's interesting. Cray split decision. I think I got that one right. I got the Anderson one right. I believe I got that one right. Cray just been a bit more explosive and being able to last at that higher tempo for a little bit longer and kind of just snatching that extra round necessary for him to be able to win. I think he is good, but he does get caught with a lot of shots still. And, he's got himself back in the lightweight tournament mix, so fair play to him. Yudi Gang, got my prediction right for that one. I was happy with that. Yudi Gang, always someone who's just kind of going to be in these closer fights, but he made that one a lot more convincing than I'm sure a lot of people were thinking. I think a lot of people expected King to be able to have a lot more success in that fight, and Yuri Games was very good at nullifying things and sticking to boxing and being quite disciplined with his work at the same time, and I do really like him as an entity, and hopefully we see maybe him versus Joey Knight next, or him versus a Valley Sharks next. I think that would be two good fights for him. Ingram, it was a good performance from him as well, and yet again the same thing with Anderson. I'm not really too sure what's going to happen with Ingram Misfits wise. Moving on, and then the Taylor performance, that was an interesting one. Taylor looking a bit different. I'm sure he's been told that he can't really just kind of hug and everything like that, and had to make the fight more entertaining. And he looked slow. He didn't really look too comfortable. I think a lot of fighters can find success against him if they're just a bit physically stronger and a bit more confident and things like that. But Eriksson wasn't really anything too impressive. He seemed to shell up and got hurt early as well. So, Taylor, full credit to him, and hopefully for entertainment wise, we keep seeing this version of Taylor as he progresses. Will he beat a KSR like that? I don't know, but we'll have to wait and see if that fight even does happen. And the Bruckner one, I got my prediction wrong for that one. I think I got my one wrong for Taylor as well. I think I said Eriksson would win. And Ingram one, I got that one right. The Bruckner one, I got that one wrong. Temper, I thought would be able to do a bit better and kind of keep to the confident boxing, but Bruckner put it on him early, which I respect. I think he knew that Temper would probably grow in confidence, and maybe Temper's chin isn't anything too crazy, so Bruckner had to put it on him early. It was messy. I still don't really like Bruckner's combinations. I think it looks not smooth at all, unnatural and things like that. But in the end, he used his physical strength, which a guy like him has to do, and he did that well, and he got the stoppage victory. And then be interesting to see in that tournament format who he goes on to fight next. And then Brook will fight Savage September 14th. And that's all the boxing news. We're now to the MMA news. Rutolo versus Musumeci and Haggerty versus Superlek will fight September 6th. And Ngannou will fight Ferreira October 19th. That fight was always going to happen, and it's one that I'm here for, to be completely honest. Ferreira's not been looking too bad as of recent, and Ngannou maybe isn't quite as big of a name in which he once was, and I think this fight's definitely necessary to bring himself back into the mix. Do I think any other PFL fights would be needed? Not really, but if Ngannou can win this one and win this one comfortably, I believe he does definitely put his name back in, not really in boxing mix, but in the MMA mix again. Cannonier will fight Barrio August 24th. Anders will fight Weidman November 16th. Cyborg will fight Pacheco October 19th. Moicano vs Saint Denis. Imamov versus Allen. Deradami versus Cornol. Zram versus Frevler. Gomes versus Brito. Sai versus Young. Zelaniakova versus Perez. Barres versus Almirano. And Charrier vs Cunningham will fight September 28th. Luciano will fight decision versus Aulenkar. Zalal will fight submission round 1 versus Arenas. Dini won via submission in round 3 versus Williams. Rosa won via decision versus Kianzad. Kazamaya won via submission in round 2 versus Kirigu. Santos won by decision versus Chandler. Gutierrez won by decision versus Barlow. Versus Barlow, yep. Versus Lair. And then Barlow won by decision versus Veredsegnikov. Mariscal won via decision versus Jackson. Spivak won by submission round 1 versus Tybura. And just to speak about that kind of main event fight, it wasn't really a massive card or anything, but Spivak did well to be able to get the avenged victory for him and that submission win as well. It was just something a little bit rare, not really any high level wrestling that was going on, but managed to get in submission with a nice armbar. And Tybura, I think, is done with these kind of main event UFC fight night things. But Spivak is kind of in and about, and they seem to be quite common every so often, these heavyweight fight nights for UFC. But yeah, that's it for today's video. Hope you did enjoy. Like if you did, like the video, subscribe if you're new, and thanks for watching.